Main man, made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just a few days away from a very, very good fight. We have a good fight on the horizon here. I am talking about Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte. I want to give a special shout out in this video to my dude, Holyfield fan. This for you, player. The thing is, with this particular fight, that I'm intrigued by it. I'm very much intrigued by this fight. There's so many great elements that make up this fight. I always say that the best fights are built on bad blood. I repeat that, and don't steal that shit, man. The best fights are built on bad blood, because even if you are the lesser skilled fighter, you will dig deep down within yourself before you try to lose to this opponent because of that bad blood. And I admire that about this fight. I understand maybe a lot of people don't know who Dillian Whyte is. And maybe even a lot of people don't know who Anthony Joshua is, given he's still young in his career. But both fighters are undefeated. Both fighters have extreme history with each other. They have bad history with each other. Both fighters have overcome adversity in one way or another throughout their young careers thus far. Both fighters are still young. Both fighters are right on the cusp of entering their primes. I do not believe Anthony Joshua is in his prime at this moment, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I gotta say that let's just deal with the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte have already fought each other once, and it was in the amateurs, in which this is the basic taunting point for Dillian Whyte and shit. He keeps throwing out the fact that he defeated Anthony Joshua back in 2009 in the amateurs. And the fact is, according to Dillian Whyte, after that particular fight in which he knocked down Anthony Joshua in this fight, after that particular fight, he did nothing but support Anthony Joshua, allegedly. He said even after he beat Anthony Joshua, that he still rooted for him to win the Olympics, in which Anthony Joshua took home the gold in 2012. He represented London, and he still supported him. However, when Dillian Whyte went through his low point of his career, in which he was banned for 2 years for taking an illegal substance, what it was, Jack 3D or some shit, substance, over-the-counter substance at that, called Jack 3D, and it contained a supplement that's banned in boxing, or it makes your body produce a supplement that's banned, and it's called MHA. And after Dillian Whyte took that Jack 3D, he ends up popping up positive for this illegal substance. And during that, his punishment was he was basically banned from boxing for 2 years. In which during this time, Anthony Joshua chose to say certain things in the media pertaining to Dillian Whyte, calling him a drug cheat and things like that. And this is after the fact, according to Dillian Whyte now. This is after the fact that he supported Joshua for the 2012 Olympics. And he feels as though Anthony Joshua basically has a chip on his shoulder about basically losing to him. He beat Anthony Joshua, and he feels Joshua just has a chip on his shoulder for losing. And he basically looks at Anthony Joshua as an asshole. He basically is trying to at least frame him to be an asshole. He's trying to frame him as a guy that doesn't respect his opponents. And the thing that he used was what was that guy's name? The last fight that Joshua was involved in, it begins with the B, Beauty Buddy, whatever the fuck. He fought that guy, and and after he beat the dude, he put pictures of the dude on Twitter after he beat him with his face all busted up and basically said, "This is what I do to journeyman." And this particular dude also supported Anthony Joshua, had nothing but good things to say, according to Dillian Whyte. Now, Dillian Whyte, you know, he's undefeated also. So he hasn't done anything wrong, particularly at this point in his career. Now, he's fought nobody of note. He's fought nobody worth mentioning in a sentence. I don't even think Joshua has. But in today's era of boxing, where people know little about the heavyweight division, it'll be senseless to run down a bunch of names that nobody doesn't fucking know. Outside of Klitschko, Fury, Hay, Wilder, and now Joshua, there are no many mainstream names in the heavyweight division. But Joshua's resume is much stronger, believe it or not, than Dillian Whyte, even though both fighters are undefeated. What makes Anthony Joshua so special is the fact that he looks as a fighter, and that most people, especially fans in the UK, have witnessed grow before your eyes. And they haven't really witnessed that with Dillian Whyte, especially because of his 2-year hiatus. Anthony Joshua was promoted by Matchroom Boxing. Is promoted by Matchroom Boxing. You know, Eddie Hearn and them. And he was also on a TV show. What is it? Prize Fighter, that airs in the UK. So he has had a more public persona, if you will, than Dillian Whyte. And so the fans tend to, I noticed the UK fans, they tend to grapple towards Joshua because for the most part, he was the better promoted guy. He grew before their eyes. They witnessed this guy grow, getting better and better per fight. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's more known. Now, in Dillian Whyte's defense, during his 2-year hiatus in which he was banned from the sport, he decided not, I repeat, not to take a job, a 9-to-5. He decided not to pursue something else in the meantime, between time, to keep money coming in. He chose to stay in the ring. And he was a sparring partner for the likes of David Hay, for the likes of Tyson Fury, for the likes of Vladimir Klitschko and shit. That's respect. He didn't just lay around, man, and become a fucking blimp. Yeah, he was possibly in better condition when he was younger, especially in the amateurs. He was much more chiseled, but he was younger. His body hadn't grown yet, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people like to talk about this guy's conditioning, and we will get to his conditioning. But you got to respect the fact that this guy never fucking left the ring, man. Despite all that, he overcame that adversity. You get me? He overcame that shit. Now, since then, both fighters have basically went along different roads. Because even when Dillian Whyte returned to the sport in 2014, even when he returned back, he refused to sign with big promoters and big managers. And I love the road that he took, man. He refused to go that route. He didn't link up with the Eddie Hearns. He didn't link up with the Kathy Duvas or the Bob Abrams. No. He didn't choose to do that because he felt if he would have linked up with a promotional company, that they would have limited his action. And he wanted to stay busy. All right, he ran through lower tier guys in devastating fashion, might I add. Knocked them all out. I think he took like 4 or 5 fights in a year or some shit like that. He took a bunch of fucking fights. More fights than he would have got if he would have been promoted. Because like he explained, with a promotional company, they have other fighters to worry about. They only have so many TV dates. They only have so many dates that they can get their fighters. And he didn't want to have to share that right now at this particular point in his career where he needs to get his name out there. That's very smart. Unlike Anthony Joshua, who went the promotional route, and he's more well known. So, from a boxing loyalist and a boxing standpoint, I like the route that both fighters have took to get to this point. Though they have not beaten no elite fighter, they're still two young fighters, ladies and gentlemen. They neither one has entered their prime. Though they have not been in there with the well-known dudes, they've beat a lot of the local well-known dudes, especially in Anthony Joshua's case. Now, the thing that throws the loop in Anthony Joshua, where he overcame adversity, is that motherfucker got caught up for selling weed. He got caught with a nice amount of marijuana, in which he got hit with the charge, basically an intention to distribute. So Dillian Whyte now is running to every camera who will listen and calling Anthony Joshua a drug supplier. He's calling him a drug dealer because he had enough, and that's the charge he got hit with. And that's one of the things that confused me, and I will get to that point with the UK fans. But he got hit, but he overcame it. He beat it. I don't know through his connections or what, but he got through it, and he still remained the guy who we know today. He won that show prize fighter. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's in tip-top condition. Nobody don't know if the motherfucker juicing or not. He comes into every fight in tip-top condition. I respect that. Got a lot of respect for Joshua. I do. I like the route that he's going on. He's conquering the UK scene, fight by fight. This will possibly be his biggest fight to date, given the history with these two fighters. So it's going to be good to see where he stands with this particular fight. And that's pretty much the backstory between these two dudes, man. That's the bad blood between these two guys. They both have bad blood towards each other. We've heard Anthony Joshua go into the media saying all kinds of shit about Dillian Whyte, calling him all kinds of fucking names, drug cheating, everything. We hear Dillian Whyte in the media talking shit about Anthony Joshua. He's a scumbag. He doesn't respect his opponents. He's a drug dealer. And those are the reasons why, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know. Now, that's the backstory. Let me give you my spin on this shit. Let's get the main man, Maze Man spin on this shit. Here's my deal. Let's start off with the amateur fight. First off, that amateur fight was just exactly what it is. An amateur fight. And that's exactly what it was. It was two amateurs in the ring. We saw a much more lesser skilled Anthony Joshua in that fight. We saw a good foundation of skills. You can see the jab emerging. You can see the footwork emerging. But the defense was terrible. Take in mind, a lot of people like to take away the knockdown that Dillian Whyte gave to Joshua in that fight. It was a worthy knockdown, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care what no one says. It wasn't not an off-balance shot. It wasn't a lucky punch. No. It was Dillian Whyte throwing a good two-piece hook, a left and right hook, timed it perfectly as Anthony Joshua was putting out a jab, and he knocked him down. But like I said before, even in that fight, skill-wise, I thought if you were to judge those two fighters 10 years from that date, you would say Anthony Joshua was going to be the better skilled fighter. Because though he got knocked down and he lost that amateur bout, it wasn't due to skills. It was due to the fact that Dillian Whyte was just throwing recklessly, man. I'm sorry. He was throwing punches every fucking where. Throwing punches everywhere. The game plan was just to go in there and throw a bunch of fucking punches and see what you can land. He was also getting tagged up too. So, I think that's a bad fucking measure to measure it with. Take in mind, Dillian Whyte, ladies and gentlemen, only had 6 amateur fights. That's it. He didn't hang around the amateurs long before he went pro. And take in mind also that Anthony Joshua got a late start in boxing. The man ain't stopped boxing until he was 18. That's something very similar that him and Deontay Wilder share. They both got in boxing late. And so at that particular point, it was like a year after Joshua got into boxing at that time, is when he lost that fight. He's gotten 30 times better since then. 30 times better. And in my opinion, Dillian Whyte still fights in a similar fashion, just a little bit more skilled now. I think the heavier puncher, given that all of Anthony Joshua's fights have ended in knockout. What is he? 15-0, 15 knockouts. They both have worthy punching power. They're both big guys. But the thing is, the difference is, the biggest X factor is Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, is the better boxer puncher. He shows the better footwork. He shows the better hand speed. He shows the better hand coordination. He doesn't fatigue nearly as fast. In Dillian Whyte's case, he's gotten bigger over the years, not more cut or more lean, and like bigger as in muscle mass. No, he's just gotten bigger in mass, and he does fatigue much faster. And his defense, the thing is, he's an easy guy. Dillian Whyte is an easy guy to jab, and Anthony Joshua throws a phenomenal jab, a very stiff jab. Dillian Whyte keeps his hands low as he comes forward. That's dangerous going up against a boxer puncher like Anthony Joshua. He throws wild shots once he gets tired. That's a problem. Dillian Whyte does not set up shots in which I've seen Anthony Joshua do. Dillian Whyte throws bombs, and when they land hard, not a setup shot. Now, I will say Dillian Whyte is the more superior body puncher. I will give him that. A lot of his knockdowns and knockouts have came from body shots, ladies and gentlemen. So you got to give him that shit, man. But however, he is the more lesser coordinated boxer. He fights well in roughly about the first 2 to 3 rounds, Dillian Whyte. But you take him beyond that, he starts to get sloppy. He starts to get fatigued. And then he starts to just throw wild shots. That is something that I have yet to see of Anthony Joshua, even in the more deeper rounds, even though he's never won, 10, 12 rounds. He's never went that deep. But Joshua is always in control of the fight. He's never off of his square. He's never off of his skill, unlike Dillian Whyte once he gets fatigued. You get me? Though I admire the route the route that Dillian Whyte took to get back into the ring, and though I admire the fact that he overcame adversity, I admire that. But my prediction, if you will, must go to the more heavily skilled fighter. That's just anybody getting caught with a lucky punch, and in this particular fight, that's very possible for either fighter. Don't get me wrong. But I think I'm gonna go bet. I'm betting on skills, man. I'm betting on skills, and the more skilled boxer puncher is Anthony Joshua. All right, he has many more accolades in his career thus far than Dillian Whyte. He's an Olympian. He holds 2 of the local big-time belts, the Commonwealth and the British Heavyweight Championship. He's the A-side, basically, in this fight, given his connections and affiliations. He's won on Prize Fighter. All we know Dillian Whyte has ever won was beating up a bunch of fucking cans, man. I'm sorry. And you got to give me more than that. You got to give me more than that. When I see that you have no stamina, but you're the bigger guy, when I see that you do not set up shots, when I see that you keep your hands low to a guy who can not only fight coming forward, but also backwards in Anthony Joshua, those are too many vulnerabilities, ladies and gentlemen. Just way too many vulnerabilities. So my prediction for this fight will go to Anthony Joshua, 5th round knockout. 5th round knockout, Anthony Joshua. For the better hand speed, for the better ring IQ, for being the better skilled fighter, for being the smarter fighter, I will say. Because once he does fatigue, he doesn't throw wild shots. Being the smarter fighter, he sets up his big shots. Unlike Dillian Whyte. He just has too much going for him in this fight, in my opinion. Now, I don't know. We all know that things haunt fighters, especially if you've lost to someone. It can haunt a fighter. He can remember that fight vividly. He can be dreaming about that fucking fight every night. We don't fucking know. But I'm going to bet on scales for this fight, ladies and gentlemen. And that's my official breakdown of Dillian Whyte versus Anthony Joshua. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section about this fight. How do you feel? You know, but I'm going to say, one thing I don't want to leave out. One thing I'm not getting from the UK fans here. Like I said before, I understand Joshua's the more promoter. He's been on TV more. You guys know him. He grew up before your eyes. I get that shit. But he's a fucking criminal. The whole fucking White has gotten banned for banned substances and all that other shit. He's a doper, whatever you want to call him. I get all that. The fact still remains, ladies and gentlemen, is that fucking Joshua's the one that got caught for the weed. So why the fuck is White the bad guy? In my opinion, just asking a fucking question. Riddle me that, because he talking shit. Fact of the matter is, White is talking some real shit. Joshua did do some bitch shit. Putting people fucking faces on Twitter, talking all this shit, calling the man a drug cheat after the man supported him. Wow, he did all this shit while the man was down, because you got your ass whooped in the amateurs. So, I mean, that's just the truth. But if you're a fan of Joshua, I totally understand. I'm a fan of him also. So I totally understand why. Because basically y'all know who the fuck he is. And he grew up right before your eyes. But I'm just saying. To the next video, Main Man, Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum. I'm just saying, folks. Anthony Joshua, you know, this guy, Anthony Joshua, if he gets through this fight, he's in the upperclassmen of heavyweights. It's going to be time to get this guy a worthy name. David Haye, what the fuck are you doing? David Haye, Tyson Fury don't want you. Klitschko ain't going to fight you. I ain't heard Deontay Wilder say your fucking name. Go fight Anthony Joshua. That will be an excellent test for Anthony Joshua if he gets through this fight. Crystal clear. Go see David Haye. I would love to see that fight because this guy, Anthony Joshua, belongs in the class of upper heavyweight fighters, in my opinion. Though he's not fought no one of note yet, I get it, folks. But I still think skill-wise, he's showing me a lot. He's definitely in that class. I'm telling you, he needs to be mentioned with the top guys if he gets through this fight impressively. So let me know what you guys think. To the next video, peace out.